And so I want to stay in the academic realm and transition across the Pacific into the Australian ecosystem. Could you please elaborate on how that process operates as it relates to university research getting spun out, transitioning its way into the U.S. Department of Defense or the U.S. innovation ecosystem, and how has MicroTau sort of, tried to leverage that as well?
Sure. So I guess for starters, MicroTau, we weren't a spin out from university, but funnily enough, I did work prior to MicroTau in a technology transfer office in a university in the Netherlands. So same kind of idea. How do you commercialize IP that comes out of research? I think from a distance, I'd say the US does it better than Australia. I think there's much more of a culture within the universities to commercialize IP, to spin that out as an organization, as a separate entity, like a commercial entity, or to license out the IP in a way which doesn't hinder that entity from going and doing the work they need to do. I think in Australia, we're still kind of learning to do that. But we do have a few, so MicroTau, we do have a few partnerships with different universities that we do work with. So one example is the University of Melbourne. They've got a great field mechanics department, building us testing facilities so that we can iterate and make new designs and push the performance further than the performance that we already have in terms of next generation materials that we can get greater drag reduction. I would say, just take care when we enter these kind of agreements, just to make sure that we can sort of try and map out all the different scenarios that might occur and make sure that if ideally we have a great result, we do good work together, there's a way for us to go and bring that into our work, into our business, and ideally then integrate that into the new products that we're bringing to the US and Department of Defense to not be held back by some terms with regard to the IP that might be thought of by the university of like, oh, we'll just have like a huge stake in this intellectual property, but not actually put in all the hard yards of making it real and making it happen and going through the blood, sweat, and tears to get it flying.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring up the intellectual. Did you?
Yeah, I just had one thing. So we have a university consortium of applied hypersonics, as like at Texas A&M University. We don't run it. It is made up of industry and academia. So there's about 300 organizations that are part of this, to include our AUKUS friends. It is funded by OSD R&E. The hard part with working with universities and companies in general is the vetting process that comes with it. Like, since we run that contract for OSD, we get, FTEs or full-time employees to help manage this whole thing. The biggest section of money that gets is the Research Security Office. Because imagine vetting, like I went to Cal. Anybody heard of that? Like, it took me 18 years to get through, but I finally did, I think. But imagine vetting Cal, that's one thing, or a university, Melbourne, it is tough government work to do that, because they're from all over the world. To like, I just wanted to say, like, we're trying to do that. OSD is trying to do that. We're just the program managers to do that. It's just hard. So the research security effort is real. You should be afraid if you read some things about where our tech or where our research is going. But we lead the way in that. Thank goodness that our research stays our research. When I say ours, meaning
the U.S.
The U.S.
Yeah, that's an excellent point to bring up. And what I would say, just to build on that, two things. It's nice to have a government seal of approval on a company's slide deck if they have a university affiliation, because in essence, the government has done the due diligence on your behalf. So that's that point one. Point number two, who of you have seen the movie Raiders of the Lost Ark? At the very end when they put the Ark of the Covenant in the crate and they put it in the back of a warehouse in some place. When I was at DIU, one of the things that we would say to the very senior general officers and folks from Capitol Hill is that DOD is the guardian of the largest graveyard of intellectual property that exists in the world. And it's in DOD's strategic best interest to have that intellectual property reside with the entity that's going to do the best with it. Case in point, Amazon spent $90 billion last fiscal year in research and development. If you project that out between now and 2032, they will eclipse the entire research and development budget of the Department of Defense. That's just Amazon. So if Amazon is doing something from an intellectual property standpoint, guess what? They probably have demonstrated that they can actually capitalize off of that intellectual property the best. The point is to be a little bit nimble, but also at the same time guarding the castle to make sure that the intellectual property resides with the entity where it's going to find the greatest value, and it's also not corrupted.